Imagine walking into a room with two sound systems hidden behind black curtains. One costs $399, the other rings in at $2,499. You listen to the thundering rain scene from Twisters, the whisper quiet dialogue from Oppenheimer, and the explosive bass from Dune. Now here's the kicker. 12 people sat in that exact room in 2026, listened carefully, and when the votes came in, both systems tied at 37% each. The budget soundbar matched a premium setup that costs 6 times more. If that doesn't make you question everything you thought you knew about audio, stick around because we're about to blow your mind with what actually happened in this blind test, and why spending more doesn't always mean hearing better. Before we dive deep into this audio showdown, hit that subscribe button and smash the like icon if you're tired of overpaying for tech that doesn't deliver. Drop a comment right now telling me which soundbar or speaker setup you're currently using at home and what problems you're dealing with. Is it weak bass, muffled dialogue, or maybe you're just confused about whether you should upgrade? Let me know because your experience matters, and we read every single comment. The blind test that changed everything. Let me paint the picture for you. This wasn't some casual listening session with random people off the street. The organizers brought in 12 participants, a mix of audio enthusiasts who spend their weekends tweaking equalizers and casual listeners who just want their Netflix to sound good. Nobody knew what they were listening to. No brand names were revealed, no price tags were mentioned, and both systems were hidden completely from view. This eliminated every possible bias because when you see a $2,500 price tag, your brain is already convinced it sounds better before you even press play. The test took place in a real room, not some studio with perfect acoustic treatment. We're talking about a typical 10 by 12 foot space, roughly the size of an average living room or bedroom in most homes. They used an spell meter to make sure both systems played at exactly the same volume level because loudness tricks your ears into thinking something sounds better when it's really just louder. Everything was controlled, everything was fair, and the results were absolutely shocking. The Polk Audio Sigma S4 is a 3.1.2 channel Atmos soundbar that costs $399. It comes with a wireless subwoofer and has upward firing drivers for that overhead sound effect that makes helicopters feel like they're flying above your head. On the other side, you had the Diavola Dion, a 5.1.2 standalone Atmos system priced at $2,499, with integrated subwoofers and more speakers than most people have in their entire house. On paper, the Diavola should have destroyed the Polk. More channels, more drivers, more power, more money. But when listeners closed their eyes and just focused on what they heard, both systems scored exactly 37%. The remaining 26% of votes split between other setups in the test, but the tie between these two was the headline that nobody expected. Understanding diminishing returns. Here's where things get really interesting, and this is the part that audio companies don't want you to understand. There's this concept called diminishing returns, and it's absolutely critical when you're shopping for sound systems. Basically, it means that the more money you spend, the smaller the improvements become. When you jump from a $50 TV speaker to a $200 soundbar, the difference is night and day. You suddenly hear dialogue clearly, bass actually exists, and movie explosions have weight. That's a massive leap in quality for a relatively small investment. But when you go from a $400 soundbar to a $2,500 system, you're not getting 6 times better sound. You might get 10% better clarity in the high frequencies, slightly tighter bass response, or more precise imaging where sounds feel like they're coming from specific locations. For most people watching TV shows, streaming movies, or playing video games in a normal-sized room, that 10% improvement isn't noticeable enough to justify spending 5 times more money. Budget soundbars today are hitting about 90% of the performance you'd get from premium systems when it comes to the things that matter most for casual viewing, which is clear dialogue, punchy bass, and decent immersion. The test results prove this perfectly. Those 12 listeners couldn't consistently identify which system was the expensive one because for typical movie and TV content in a typical room, The differences are so subtle that they disappear. Budget soundbars are tuned for what engineers call a neutral sound signature. They're not trying to impress audiophiles with hyper-detailed treble or reference flat bass response. They're designed to make your movies fun and your music enjoyable without requiring a degree in acoustics to set up properly, where premium systems actually win. Now, I'm not saying expensive systems are a scam. That's not the point here. Premium setups absolutely have their place, and there are specific situations where that extra money makes a real difference. If you have a large living room, like 15 by 20 feet or bigger, budget soundbars start to struggle. They don't have enough power to fill that space with sound. And you'll notice the audio feels thin or distant when you're sitting far from the TV. Premium systems with more powerful amplifiers and larger drivers can push sound further and maintain quality across bigger spaces. Room calibration is another area where expensive systems shine. Many high-end soundbars and receivers come with automatic room correction technology. You place a microphone in your listening position, the system plays test tones, and it automatically adjusts the sound to compensate for your room's acoustics. If your room has bare walls, hardwood floors, or weird shapes that cause echoes and dead spots, this calibration can make a huge difference. Budget soundbars rarely have this feature, so you're stuck with whatever sound the room naturally produces. Expandability matters too. With premium systems, you can add more speakers over time. Start with a soundbar and sub, then add rear surrounds, then add more height channels. You're building a modular system that grows with your needs and budget. Most budget soundbars are all-in-one solutions. What you buy is what you get, and there's no room to expand later. And let's be honest about dynamics. Dynamics means the system's ability to go from whisper-quiet dialogue to sudden explosions without distortion or compression. Premium systems handle these swings effortlessly. They have headroom to spare, so even when you crank the volume during an action scene, everything stays clean and controlled. Budget systems can get a bit harsh or muddy when you push them hard because they're working at their limits. Best budget soundbars right now. If you're convinced that budget is the way to go, let me break down the best options available in 2026 so you can make a smart choice. The Hisense AX5140Q is a 5.1.4 channel beast that typically sells for around $400 to $450 in the USA at places like Walmart and Best Buy. In Europe, you're looking at $450 to $500 on Amazon. This thing has discrete height speakers, meaning actual physical drivers pointing upward instead of bouncing sound off your ceiling. It also has a solid equalizer so you can tweak the sound to match your room and preferences. This one's incredibly versatile and scores high on sites like Artings for overall performance. The Polk Audio Sigma S4, the star of our blind test, is available for $399 in the US and around $420 in Europe. It's a 3.1.2 setup with a wireless subwoofer that delivers serious punch. People in the blind test praised its bass slam and how it handled action scenes without falling apart. For dialogue-heavy content like dramas or podcasts, it stays clear and balanced. This is the one that tied with a system costing over $2,000, so you know it's doing something right. If you want a complete surround setup without breaking the bank, check out the Amazon Fire TV Soundbar Plus with the included sub and rear speakers. In the USA, this bundle runs between $300 and $350, while in the UK it's around $280 to $320. You get true 5.1 surround sound with physical rear speakers, which creates a much more immersive experience than virtual surround from a single bar. The balance across all channels is surprisingly good for the price, making it a solid choice for movie lovers on a tight budget. For those who want the absolute cheapest upgrade from TV speakers, the Vizio SV200M is a simple 2.0 stereo soundbar that costs just $80 to $100 in the US and $90 to $110 in Europe. It's not going to give you Atmos or earth-shaking bass, but it makes dialogue crystal clear and adds warmth to music and sound effects. Sometimes simple is all you need. Finally, the Ultimia Poseidon M60 is a 2.1 system priced between $100 and $150 in the USA and $110 to $160 in Europe. This one shocked reviewers because actual measurements showed it outperforming soundbars that cost 2 or 3 times more. The subwoofer is surprisingly capable, and the overall sound quality punches way above its weight class. Keep an eye on sales too. Costco in the US frequently bundles soundbars with discounts hitting 20% off, and in Europe, retailers like Currys have been known to drop prices to $3.50 or lower during major sales events. Timing your purchase right can save you serious money. Why budget soundbars shocked everyone. The reason budget soundbars perform so well in tests like this comes down to a few key factors. First, they're tuned for real-world content. Most people are watching streaming shows, movies from Netflix or Disney Plus, and playing console games. This content is mixed to sound good on a wide range of systems, not just reference-grade studio monitors. Budget soundbars are optimized for exactly this type of content, so they naturally sound pleasing and balanced without needing tons of adjustment. Second, room acoustics play a massive role, and compact soundbars actually benefit here. A small soundbar with a wireless sub is easier to place correctly in a room. You're not dealing with 5 or 7 separate speakers and trying to figure out optimal angles and distances. Casual listeners, which make up the majority of the market, prioritize fun and ease of use over subtle details that only trained ears might catch. They want to unbox, plug in, and enjoy, and budget soundbars deliver that experience perfectly. Premium systems can sometimes introduce what audiophiles call analytical flaws. They might have overly bright treble that makes dialogue feel harsh, or boomy bass that overwhelms the mids. These tuning choices are intentional for certain types of critical listening, but for everyday movie watching, they can actually be fatiguing or unpleasant. Budget systems avoid these extremes and stick to a crowd-pleasing middle ground. The bottom line. So what does all this mean for you? If you're sitting in an average-sized room watching movies and shows on a mid-range TV, and you just want better sound than what your TV speakers provide, spending $2,500 on a sound system is overkill. You're paying for refinements and capabilities that you won't fully appreciate in that environment. A $399 soundbar like the Polk Sigma S4 or a $400 Hisense AX5140Q will give you 90% of the experience for a fraction of the cost. But if you're building a dedicated home theater in a large room, if you care deeply about perfectly calibrated sound, or if you want the flexibility to expand your system over time, then investing in a premium setup makes sense. You'll appreciate the extra power, the room correction, and the ability to fine-tune every aspect of your audio. Just know that you're paying for those last 10% improvements, and that's a conscious choice, not a requirement. The blind test exposed something the audio industry doesn't always want to admit. The gap between budget and premium has shrunk dramatically. Technology has advanced to the point where affordable soundbars can deliver genuinely impressive performance that rival systems costing many times more. Companies are competing fiercely in the budget space, and consumers are the winners. Final thoughts. The $399 soundbar tying a $2,499 system isn't a fluke. It's a wake-up call that challenges everything we've been told about needing to spend big to get great sound. For most people, the smart money is on a well-reviewed budget soundbar that delivers clarity, bass, and ease of use without the premium price tag. Save that extra cash for a better TV, more streaming subscriptions, or literally anything else you enjoy. If you found this breakdown helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos where we cut through the marketing hype and give you the real facts about tech. Drop a comment and let me know if you're team budget or team premium, and tell me what soundbar you're planning to buy after watching this. Your feedback helps us make better content, and we genuinely love hearing from you. Until next time, stop overpaying for hype and start enjoying great sound at a price that actually makes sense.